Welcome to the Connection Podcast. I am Lauren Dry, also known as the Connection Catalyst. Connection and this podcast for me is personal. As a driven professional, I found myself an expert in all things work and business, but it was at home that I really needed clarity and ease. After finally finding it one marriage breakdown and one marriage reset later, and finally discovering what really works to have connection in modern relationships, using science, simplicity, and soul, our signature program, Rise into Regulation, was born. That's giving so many others in modern, driven relationships back clarity and ease for good. On the podcast today, we're going to dive deep together on all things relationships, business, identity, and leadership. And clarity and ease is at the heart of it all, and we are so happy to be with you so that you can have what you need in connection, mind, body, and soul too. I had a beautiful question the other day, and the question was, how does it happen that when I am not in a relationship, or when I am in a relationship and I'm away from home or they're away, everything seems to be good? I'm good. The world keeps turning. I'm confident. Things are great. I have so many good friends. I'm a great friend. I'm great in my community. I feel confident. I feel secure. But when I am at home, when I'm in a relationship, when my partner is home, when things are supposed to be fine because I have the relationship, I have the marriage, things are going well. On the surface, things look okay, but I'm not okay. The wheels start to fall off. We fight. I get anxious. It just doesn't seem to last. And I feel like the endings of relationships always feel the same. I feel safer alone than with someone, and that terrifies me. I have visions of my grandkids running around me and sharing a life with someone on a porch that wraps around the house. So why isn't this working out for me? And I think I'm pretty good. I've done a lot of work on myself. I like who I am as a person. My friends really like me. I've had decades-long friendships. Why? Why is this not translating to my romantic life? First of all, my heart is with you. I can understand how debilitating this feels, because particularly if you are incredibly intelligent, particularly if you do have this capacity to be loving and to be kind and to be determined and to work on your self-growth and be authentic and compassionate, but that safe and secure, intimate relationship where your partner is your friend and you're their friend and you can move through difficult things as a team, it's not happening. It feels like failure. It's horrific and it's lonely. And the question that comes up is, what is wrong with me? Because I'm the common denominator here. It's got to be me. It's got to be me. So first of all, I want to hold some grace for how challenging those feelings and those emotions are, and to feel like you're stuck on this merry-go-round that you can't get off, and you want all these beautiful things and you feel like you have a lot that you can provide, but that doom cycle is happening again where the relationship is ending, or maybe you just don't feel safe to be able to explore repairing a relationship or stepping into dating or being with someone new. The first thing I will tell you is no, there's nothing wrong with you. And this is the perfect time to start getting curious about your patterns. And your patterns are fed by two things. One, your nervous system, and two, your unconscious mind and the hidden pattern, a primary hidden pattern that's creating this loop. And what that creates is something that we refer to a lot in Rise as a protective part. And this protective part, sometimes it simmers along in the background. It doesn't get bothered too much. And when you're regulated, you are a great friend and, you're the person that people turn to for advice and, you're great at supporting others. But it just leaves you feeling lonely and confused. However, when you step into an intimate space and things start going wrong, or you feel confused or abandoned or resentful, what happens is if our nervous system has been protecting us and we've been firing on fight, flight, fawn or freeze for a really, really long time. And the sneaky thing about fawn and freeze, especially is that freeze dissociation can look like coping. It can look like being incredibly capable. And fawn response means you're really, really good with people. You're great at adapting. You're great at serving. You're great at navigating challenges. The thing is, if this mode has been on for a really, really long time, we start identifying our protective patterns, fight, flight, fawn, and freeze, which gets celebrated. There is nothing harder to turn off than a survival response nervous system that gets celebrated. It gets really hard to downregulate and turn off, because what happens in our unconscious brain is we get the whispers of thoughts that say, okay, if you turn off the people pleasing, if you turn off the dissociation and you start speaking into your feelings and needs, you'll be abandoned, you'll be left behind. So what we do is we try to adapt and we create a mask. And this mask presents to the world capability, productiveness, and an ability to support others, but not letting others see our vulnerable side. So when we have feelings and needs, instead of saying, hey, I was a little bit bothered by what happened there, can you tell me what's going on? So that's ownership of your feelings, accountability, and curiosity. What we do is we try to deflect, and we say, we either use dissociation. So deflection is, I'm fine, everything's fine, but what's your problem? What's going on with you? So we try to shield ourselves from vulnerability. Or what we try to do is we dissociate completely, and in the interest of trying to win another person over, we create a version of ourselves that just doesn't have any needs at all. And then the resentment starts to build. And then one day there's an explosion or a big fight that's completely out of proportion. And then we wonder how on earth that happened and get filled with shame. And the confusion around this is people who find themselves in this cycle can tend to say to themselves, but I have great friends. I have great relationships. I don't see this version of myself in those. And what I say to you around that is there's a reason. Friendships you get to step away from. You get to go to your own bed. You get to recoup. You get to take the mask off. And instead of creating a pattern by which you are safe according to how you present yourself, when it comes to intimate relationships, that mask doesn't work. And so the tension that comes with being on all the time builds and builds and builds and builds, and then there's a crash, there's a fallout. But people stuck in this cycle don't know how to step outside of it, because saying goodbye to your protective patterns and behaviors feels like letting go of a comfort toy. It feels like letting go of a friend. It feels like you're in the middle of a war zone and someone gently comes up and puts a hand on your shoulder and says, I know there's bullets flying around your face right now, but I'm going to need you to take off that armor. I'm going to need you to put down that sword, because that's not what we want you to use right now. And your body will scream. Naturally, of course it's going to. It feels like it's in a war zone, and you're asking that body of yours not to defend itself. So the art to ending these patterns and finally feeling like you have enough safety in your body to be vulnerable and start having those intimate connections where it feels safe enough to have accountability, connection, self-compassion, that vulnerable state and curiosity for another person from a place of nervous system downregulation, as opposed to that fight, flight, fawn, freeze response. That begins, first of all, by beginning to differentiate between what is your nervous system and what is your identity. So if you haven't listened to them already, I really recommend listening to the episode that we've recorded previously around what is a trauma response and what is an identity statement. And something I refer to a lot as well is a values episode that we recorded early on. These two episodes are really going to support you to begin having a new relationship with your nervous system, where you can start teasing out what is your identity and what is a trauma response, and start having a new relationship with that quieter voice inside of you that wants to flex and wants to experiment with vulnerability. Because something I reference a lot as well is the difference between unhealthy and healthy discomfort. And we have to start giving micro doses of healthy discomfort to our nervous system so we can start changing that pattern in a way that feels safe and that our body is not going to rebel at. Okay, because these patterns have been there for a long time for our benefit. They come from a really loving place. We cannot shame ourselves out of them. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. Okay, so we have to go in with a lot of love, a lot of tenderness, and then find windows of time where we can flex that vulnerability. And after you've done the values episode and you have a little bit more of an understanding of who you really are at your core, that level of accountability. Am I actually a creative person? And I don't remember the last time I picked up a paintbrush or danced, or do I have a really deeply authentic relationship with myself? Or do I not know who that is anymore? Because if I don't know who that is, it's going to be very, very difficult to invite someone else in to see that. So start exploring deeper with a lot of accountability. And if you can get support around that, definitely go down that route, whatever that looks like for you, and start exploring with a little bit more compassion who you really are at the root, away from your protective patterns. And I'm sure you have wonderful friends. I'm sure they're very supportive and they're your ride or dies. And when it comes to those relationships, they're also not going to bed with you every night. If you want someone to be able to do that with, get better acquainted with yourself, not just who you are in alignment with the people around you. I would begin there and get brave. We get this one big, beautiful life. It's worth it. It's worth the discomfort. You are worth it. And if not now, when? Okay? Take this episode as this wonderful, loving nudge to say, hey, I'm done. And if at worst, what I'm going to be doing is dating myself and figuring out the difference between what's a protective response, what's a connective response, and how I can keep myself safe and secure without abandoning myself and figuring out who I am at my core, not just who my protective patterns are. What a joy. What a blessing. You know, use that beautiful big heart of yours. You'll never regret it. And I'm here to chat anytime, okay? Any questions, come and hang out on Instagram and follow along for all the episodes that we release to support you on your connection journey so that you can have clarity and ease in any relationship, especially the relationship that you absolutely deserve at home. Big love.